Hey everyone, my name's Andrew Graham. I'm a student here at the California School of Professional Psychology, and I'm going to be covering DBT interpersonal effectiveness skills. Before we go any further, I feel it's important to slow down and figure out what interpersonal effectiveness, is and how to define it so that we have a common baseline to build off of. Communication is more than just words. Rather, it's our ability to get objectives met, maintain self-respect, and strengthen our relationship. This is from the DBT's perspective. Getting objectives met. Don't confuse this with manipulation. Getting something that you want and that will help you is very different than manipulation. Generally, the objective that you're trying to get met, it's the reason for the conversation or the interaction in the first place. And be specific. Specific is your friend. The more specific you can be in these situations, then the faster you're going to find common ground, the more the other person is going to be able to understand, and really it's the meat and potatoes of what you're trying to get met. Maintaining self-respect. This can be as simple as standing up for something that's important to you, whether it be voting or standing up for a friend or just defending a boundary. It's important to ask yourself, how do I want to feel about myself when this interaction is over? Because causing conflict or devaluing a value or not acting in accordance with your values can actually wear down your internal self-respect. Strengthening current relationships. So not only is this maintaining healthy relationships, but also able to nurture relationships that survive when things get tough. Remember, no relationship, or anything for that matter, is perfect all the time. And so if we take the time to strengthen our current relationships and kind of deposit money, so to speak, or in this case it would be like time and effort into our relationships, then when things get a little stressful for us, then we can kind of withdraw that support and be able to manage the relationship. One of the main tools that we have in DBT for getting our important needs met in an effective manner is called Dearman. As we slow down and look at each of these components in more detail, I'll change the letter of the corresponding letter in the Dearman acronym up here, so that way it's easier for us to understand where we are in relation to the others and kind of look at this in a broad sense. And I'll also give you examples in this situation throughout, so that way you can kind of understand what this will look like in real world. So our situation for this project, you and a friend have planned to meet for dinner, but your friend has flaked out on you in the last minute and has yet to tell you when they won't be able to attend beforehand for the last 4 meetups. So keep this in mind as you're going through, and we'll touch on what this looks like throughout each component. So you can see here the D is in purple, and that was what I was talking about in the previous slide. So D stands for describe. Describe in specific terms. Where are we going? What do you want? So that the person knows what is exactly what you're asking and when the job can be done. It's really important to just state the facts and not feelings or judgments. So a fact is, when you arrived late, and a feeling or a judgment is, you always arrive late. The difference is by just describing the facts in a clear, consistent manner, then it allows us to find a common ground and it doesn't put us on the defensive. So why describe? It helps everyone involved get on the same page, and it also fundamentally starts the conversation in a constructive way. If we can agree on what happened, we're already collaborating, and it's more likely to continue on that. And it also allows you to figure out how your assertion will be received, and it lets you shift accordingly. So in our example, I've noticed that the last 4 times we have planned to get together, you have canceled at the last minute. Notice how there's no judgments. It's simply talking about the last 4 times we've planned and you had to cancel at the last minute, which is what happened. Ideally, you don't want this to put them on the defensive, and you just want to, again, stick to the facts. Up next is the E in Dearman, and the E stands for express, so you're expressing the feelings and what you believe about the situation. It's really important to take a second here to really dive deep into what kind of statements that we can make. If anyone has been to therapy or done any sort of psychology readings on the internet, you've likely come across I statements versus you statements. And this is really important because I statements take ownership. I felt blank because blank happened. So I felt like I didn't matter because you didn't tell me, or I wasn't notified that we weren't meeting anymore. Whereas a you statement automatically puts the other person kind of on a defensive back footing. Kind of like, you never take out the trash. Well, I took out the trash 6 months ago, so that's not true. Or, you never tell me when we are not going to meet. It really breaks down the communication, and it's important to be as clear as possible. I feel this because this happened is really an important thing. So an example, I feel confused when let me try that again. I feel confused when I'm left waiting. I don't know where you are, and I get worried if you are okay. So I feel confused when I'm left waiting because I don't know where you are, and I get worried. Next up is the A in Dearman. The A stands for assert, and it has a really important key. Unfortunately, if you expect mind reading and that other people can read your minds, you're setting yourself up for disappointment and probably even more suffering. However, it's important to know that people generally want to work together and make things work. However, they need to know the situation and have some kind of like context and general understanding. It's also really important to ask for feedback. Doing this allows us to know what the other person heard, how they're making sense of it, and if it's making sense. So that way we can correct any misunderstandings before they snowball into a bigger problem. So in our example, I know emergencies happen, but I have a packed schedule and I like to have at least a day's heads up. Could you do that for me? So we're telling this person, we're kind of making, yes, emergencies happen. I'm not going to fault you for that. However, I don't expect you to read my mind and know that I have a packed schedule. So I'm going to let you know to that. And I'm also going to let you know my personal favorite for a day's heads up. And then finally, I'm going to ask for your input. What did you hear me say? What can we do to find a win-win scenario for this? And so we come to the end of Dear with R. R stands for reinforce. Explain the benefit for the other person going along with what you want. Think of this as like a buy-in, so to speak. If you do blank, then the benefit is to you. This may feel like manipulation, but it's not. You're not stacking your cards in your favor. You're not misleading or misrepresenting the truth or the facts. You're simply, hey, this is what I want, this is what it's in for you. People are naturally motivated by positive consequences and outcomes. Think of Pavlov's dog. Every time I ring a bell, you get a treat. Eventually, you're going to associate those. So link your request, what you want from them, to a gain for the other person. So our example, I love spending time with you, but it's hard for me when I find out at the last minute and I can't take you out or buy you coffee. So setting it up, this is again a reminder what we're talking about. However, it's hard for me. And kind of going through this is your buy-in right now. If you don't let me know and I'm kind of sitting there hanging out waiting for you and I don't know you're coming, then I can't take you to dinner or buy you a coffee or do this really cool thing for you. And it lets them know kind of what you want and what they get out of it. Now on to the man part of our Dearman. So man is the how to do it, whereas the dear is what to do it. So M is remain mindful. Be in the present moment. Don't get lost in tangents or distractions because they will come up. You can table them for after the main problem is solved. Stay focused on the goal. Don't be afraid to sound like a broken record. Sometimes people need to hear things a few times in order for it to click. This might look like something in our situation. Ignore the attacks when they bring up all the times you have bailed on them. So something like, I understand that I've done similar things to you in the past. How about we both try doing this the next few times and see how it goes? Notice here that you are taking ownership, that I have done similar things to you in the past. I'm going to ignore all of their chances and not their chances, but all of their opportunities for them to get sidetracked in each and every detail of just how often this happens. And we're really focusing on what we want in the, how about we try doing this for the next few times and see how it goes. We're getting feedback and kind of checking in with them at the same time. Moving on to the A in Dearman is appear confident, both verbally and non-verbally. It's also important to understand that you don't have to be confident. Sometimes these can be really stressful situations, especially if they're really new to us. And so appearing confident is really the key. So verbally, don't hedge your bets with something like, it would be, if I wouldn't be a bother, which is more passive, or you can go to the other side of, you will do this. Both of them aren't very effective for getting what we want. One kind of opens the door for us to be a doormat, and the other one can be seen as aggressive and just shut down the conversation altogether. Now, non-verbally, this is make eye contact, and this can be really stressful sometimes for us. We don't want to provoke, we feel uncomfortable when we make eye contact, and that's important to know. So this is why things like practicing, finding somebody that you feel safe with doing this is encouraged. And also try not to fidget and move your hands around. So in our example, it's really important to me that I want to spend time together once in a while to catch up. While this isn't like a verbatim of what to say, this kind of tries to get the point across of, this is really important to me and I want to spend time together. So closing out our Dearman, we have N, which stands for negotiate. Think of it as a compromise. Find a win-win scenario is the ultimate goal. Offer solutions or say no with alternatives. So, hey, this works for me, this doesn't work for me, but this will. Ask for their input. What do you think? I'm having trouble finding solutions at work. What works for you? So we're an example. I understand life can get really chaotic and that's okay. So how about we confirm with each other the day before so we can see if this works? How does that sound to you? So you're compromising. You're understanding that life can get really chaotic and you're asserting your needs. How about we confirm with each other the day before? And then you're asking for their input. Does that sound like something that would work for you or not? So now let's take a second to kind of tie everything together. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to take all of the examples from previous slides and really put them in a place where you can see all of them together. I've noticed that the last 4 times we've planned to get together, you have had to cancel at the last minute. So you're describing what's going on. I feel confused when I'm left waiting. I don't know where you are, and I get worried if you are okay. I'm expressing how I feel here. I know emergencies happen, but I have a packed schedule and I'd like to have at least a day's heads up. Could you do that for me? I'm asserting my needs. I love spending time with you, but it's hard for me when I find out at the last minute and I can't take you out or buy you coffee. I'm reinforcing. If this happens, this will happen for you. Get that buy-in. I understand that I've done the same things to you in the past, but how about we both try and do this for the next few times and see how it goes. I'm ignoring attacks and I'm ignoring tangents and I'm really staying on message. This is really important to me and I want to spend time together once in a while to catch up. You're asserting. here. And then finally, I understand that life can get really chaotic and that's okay. So how about we confirm with each other the day before and see if this works. How does that sound for you? You're negotiating here. You're trying to find a common good. So this is really what a Dearman looks like altogether. So this can be really overwhelming for a lot of people, especially if you're new to Dearman skills. So the key here is to practice, practice, practice. Practice before you need it, practice with people you trust and who are supportive, and practice in environments that are realistic. And so Marsha Linehan has come up with a few ideas for you to practice in. Go to the store and ask for help with something. Hey, where's the mac and cheese? Can you help me find it? Something simple. When you're talking to someone, change the subject. This doesn't have to be an abrupt black and white. This can be something as simple as, you know, when I was doing this, and really get in the practice of changing subjects. Ask for a substitution on a meal in a restaurant. Can I get mashed potatoes instead of French fries? Something easy. Ask someone you know to carpool to an event together. Hey, I noticed that you and I are going to the concert. What do you think about us potentially carpooling together? Save some gas. Ask a friend to help you fix something. This doesn't have to be a big Pinterest DIY project. This can be as simple as, hey, can you help me put this chair together? Ask a person to stop doing something that bothers you. This is a really important one. Hey, when you do that pen twirl, it really annoys me because it makes a lot of noise and it's really distracting for me. Can you please knock that off? And ask someone you don't know what time it is. This one's a really simple one, but it's also a really anxiety-provoking one for a lot of people because it's a complete... So wrapping up here, I wanted to kind of review everything that we've gone over today. So we've defined what interpersonal effectiveness is when we were talking about communication. We've talked about the goals, getting our objectives met, maintaining self-respect, and strengthening our relationships. We walked through a Dearman with each letter of the acronym representing a different idea. And finally, it's really important to practice. Practice with people and practice in different situations so that way you're prepared when things come up. Thanks for your time and listening to this, and I hope that you learned a lot about the Dearman, not just what it stands for, but how to use it, and got some ideas that will work for you. I hope this talk was useful, and you now have some ideas on how to develop and improve your relationships with others, maintain your self-respect, and do it in a way that's realistic and authentic to you.